Former Cross River State Governor Donald Duke says except Nigerian youth mobilize themselves through obtaining permanent voters' cards to vote the right candidates into office, their complaints on social media would continue to be in vain. He spoke at a public lecture held in Abuja by Mike Omotosho Foundation. Speakers, including youth at the lecture, encouraged Nigerians to ensure that their complaints on misgovernance, both at the federal and state levels, is corrected through obtaining PVCs and voting the right kind of leaders that will represent their interests in government.
You've got to get involved. How do you get involved? The first thing is you can get something as a voter's card. Most of these people that shout millennial and youth and all, they don't have voter's card, right? So get them involved in the discussions and the politics. It doesn't mean that you should run for office, but you can support folks who are running for office because they meet your aspirations, okay? 80% of the people in politics in Nigeria are job seekers. They may be in the National Assembly, they're seeking jobs. They may be governors, they're seeking jobs. Because if you take them out of that, they don't know what to do with themselves. So you've got to change that. You've got to ensure that the people who are willing to get into office are those who want to truly serve and not those who are seeking jobs.
There's a lot of noise about 2019, and there's a lot of noise about not too young to run. Youths are clamoring for power, but to a large extent, how prepared are they? Do they even know what to do? So this year's lecture gives everybody the opportunity to come together and decide on how best to empower millennials, because to a large extent, this is a significant population in Nigeria and they cannot be ignored. And if they're making a lot of noise and nobody is doing anything about it, there may be crisis. So they need to have their voice, and their voices indeed heard all over.
Well, joining me now to talk about the quest for youth inclusion in Nigerian politics is a presidential aspirant, Ahmed Buhari. Good to have you here.
Thank you
on the News Hour. So yes, we've heard Donald Duke, former governor of Cross River State, talking about the youth involvement in politics, which isn't, well, what one is expecting to see right now. But how would you assess the level of youth involvement in politics in Nigeria today?
Thank you for having me. I think a lot of young people are more interested in politics now than they were 5 years ago. And the reason is because they're more enlightened, there are more sources of information that we can get access to and understand what we're supposed to do. I was at that event yesterday and I remembered I did counter what the former governor spoke about, youth's readiness, and also he made very clear indications that the experience has to be there. And I just want to put it out there to every young person. The experience that gives you good governance doesn't have to be political.
Really? So what kind of experience are we looking at?
You can get experience from any field. What is most important is a system that works. So that system that works is what is expected to checkmate the inadequacies that we find the politicians present to us. So however you want to look at it, we've got people in government that have been there from the councillor level to the chairman level. They've been governors twice, they've been senators, and we still cannot tell very clearly how their own style of governance has profited the Nigerian people. We cannot see the dividends of democracy from that kind of experience. And what we're saying now is, except a system is in place that helps checkmate politicians or elected officials and ensure that they're efficient, they're transparent, and they do everything that they have to do to ensure that governance is being driven to more than anything else, benefit Nigerians.
But we have a system that works so that the youth who are trying to take over politics from the old ones can really thrive.
What system is that?
Well, there are lots of systems that we would say in Nigeria that doesn't work.
Yes, so this is what I've been clamoring for. I think before we can have a country that succeeds, before we can have a country that thrives, we would have to put in data management systems and all facets of our activities. It's that data management system that would ensure that the civil servant is upright. It's that the data management service that will ensure that the immigration service is upright, and with the influx of people killing our people in Benue and other places, it's not going to happen, because at that point in time, every single person you see has got a reason to call himself a Nigerian. There is something that identifies you as a Nigerian. It's that thing that gives you access to every nook and cranny of this country. But if you do not have that in place, then everybody is free to do whatever they want to do. Take example with the streets of Lagos. The people you see on the streets of Lagos today, whether they're Okada riders or truck pushers, more than 80% of them are not even Nigerians. But unfortunately, people in Lagos can't even identify them as non-citizens, because there is nothing that puts us together as Nigerians.
Well, how prepared are the youth now to take over power in this short period of time?
Let us also make it very clear. Age is not a function of good leadership.
Right.
And so when you talk about youth, when you talk about young and all of those things, I keep wondering, what age bracket are we looking at? Because we're talking about people that are in their 40s or aspiring, and you still hear people say, oh, you're still young. And I'm thinking, the human brain really starts winding down even at 40. So do you expect people who are in their 50s and 60s to outperform people who have got all the energy? Some of the reasons why we've been set back is because we've been presented with leaders who, in reality, are a bit tired. I take example, if you look at the system when the military guys were in charge, you could see this vibrancy. I know there were some mistakes here and there, but you could see some vibrancy in how they wanted to execute projects. We don't see any major project coming up today. And the reason is because we're dealing with people who have got to a stage in their lives and they just say, you know what, I think we'll just leave it the way it is.
And what do you think is responsible for that docile attitude?
It comes with the age. Your dad was stricter when he was younger. As he grows older, he just relaxes. It's just normal with human life. You know, that's how we've been modeled. That's how we've become as people. We get to a certain age and we don't want to try anything else. You tell him, this is how best your business can work. And he tells you, this is what I've always done all my life. Leave it the way it is like that. But what worked for you in the 70s certainly will not work for you in 2018. So
now 2019 elections is just around the corner.
Yes.
Do you think a youth can take over power?
Absolutely.
So why do you have that optimism?
The optimism I have right now is because yesterday, for example, at that same event, I saw the hall was filled with about 85% young people. People who want to hear something different. People who are hungry to see something work. Somebody was, some time ago, I was on an interview and somebody said, we've heard everything. And I said, don't say that. You can't possibly be alive and believe you've heard everything. There's always something new out there that we should be looking for. And hopefully, when we find it, Nigeria could actually be heading for a better position, at least in the global space.
All right, as a presidential aspirant now, what would you be bringing to the table so that we can see that we have a different, brand or different species?
First, absolutely. A different species is fine to use that, because right now, the people are frustrated. The people are discontented. People want to see something that is going to revive that lost hope. And more than anything else, what we are clamoring for is not to take over power just because we are hungry for power. We want to ensure that everybody is included, whether you're old, whether you're young, and except we have that inclusivity, we cannot move forward, especially when it comes across with the ethnicity, the religion. I think we've had a few people who have held on to power and have not been able to break that barrier. And that's why I keep saying hate is not the first enemy of love. It is fear, because fear destroys the ability to trust. And that fear that exists is because we've not been able to talk to each other and understand that we're more of the same than different. Our generation wants that to happen. And that is why we insist that the only way we can have Nigeria working is if we can leverage on our comparative economic advantages. That comparative economic advantage is what will make you and I want to do things together. And at that time, we'll not be concerned about whether you are Christian or Muslim. It's the same thing with the Fulani herdsmen. I think the ranches are decent. It's one of the ways to get out the Fulani men from the roads, whether they're killing people or whether they're causing accidents on our roads every day. Get them out of the road. Get them into ranches. When you put them into ranches, the economic viability of them being in ranches is even greater for the country. You can have dairy farms moved close to the ranches and have a proper milking system. You can have abattoirs next to the ranches and have a proper abattoir system. You can even have a proper taxation regime for these herdsmen. I don't know why we know these things and we don't want to do them, but somebody tells me we've heard it all.
Well, we hope that we get to do things rightly. This time around, I'd like to thank you very much, Presidential Aspirant Ahmed Buhari, for all you've said on TVC News.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you.